Welcome to the Live Squawk podcast, where professional traders, investors, and market insiders get the unfiltered insights that matter most. Stay ahead of the curve with expert interviews and exclusive market commentary.
Before we dive in, if you want the news that moves markets delivered in real time, 24 hours a day, check out Live Squawk. It's our audio squawk service trusted by serious traders worldwide. Start your free trial today at livesquawk.com. No credit card required. Hello and welcome to Live Squawk's Market Talk, our monthly crypto rundown today. We'll be looking at what's driving the crypto market, what's moving the major coins, and what's happening across the big exchanges. To help me make sense of it, I'll be joined by well-known crypto trader Audi, who you'll know by his online handle. Welcome to you. I'll bring you in a second, but first a quick disclaimer. The content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only. We're not licensed financial advisors, and none of the information shared should be considered as financial, investment, or trading advice. Please conduct your own research, consider your financial objectives, and consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. Investing and trading in financial products carries a risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results. We are not responsible for any losses or gains that may result from following the content on this channel. And with that, we'll move on to today's episode. Just like the aim of this monthly recording is to really try and demystify the crypto biosphere and get a clearer sense actually moves prices. Bitcoin will be a major focus, but as the last few years have shown, there's never just one driver behind any kind of move. As I mentioned, Audi trades as part of a crypto-focused fund called Credo, and has a vast amount of experience in this space. Before we get into the news, Audi, I just want to get an idea for our listeners, as one of our new contributors. How did you get into this space? What brought you to where you are today in the trading world?
Yes, of course. First of all, great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I got into space pretty much when it started having like the space exists obviously from the early 10s, right? But it didn't have derivatives background at all until 2017. That's roughly where I joined. I don't think there's anything special to how I got into the market. I was obviously lured by the high returns, and it was in an explosive growth phase back then. But I think like definitely what made me stick here is how low barriers this industry is compared to, let's say, traditional finance in terms of trading, and also maybe, trading more professionally as well. Like the difference, let's say, with TradFi, to start trading, you need to be properly capitalized. There are fees, there are minimums. It's really the contracts. It's not easy to start if you're at zero. Well, this is not true at crypto. So this is pretty much how I started 7 to 8 years ago, and then I did well for myself. I got lucky. I also got unlucky. I've been through it all. Like, it's one of the most cyclical markets you can trade, obviously. I think the turning point for me was somewhere in 2021. There was some kind of competition that they were quite common back then,
Right.
where you pretty much traded futures, right? And the top 3-4 traders got some kind of prize. So I won one of them, and that helped me a lot get the confidence that I can do this, get more properly capitalized, and yeah, the rest is history. Somewhere in January 2023 is where I joined Credo, where I'm at right now, which is prop shop. We trade mostly crypto, both discretionary and systematic. Traders come with their own strategy, and we provide capital, software, research, among other things. And yeah, I've been there for 3 years, 3.5 now for the better part. I've been also in charge of the operations. So my domain on the operations is mostly Teams oversight, these aforementioned domains I mentioned, like research and software and business operations, pretty much ensuring everyone is aligned. And yeah, on the trading, I, like you mentioned, co-manage some of the strategies we run.
Sure. Would you say you found your home now in terms of your career and the way where you see yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great habit. So you asked about Credo or about the market? You slightly cut off.
No, just generally, if you found your home in terms of this is where you feel comfortable now. This is the sort of career that you want for yourself. Just generally speaking, as a crypto trader specifically.
Yes, I would say so. I mean, generally, I particularly enjoy how there's like the fast pace of developments in this space keeps you entertained and gives you something to do, and there's always something to trade. So yeah.
Awesome. Great. We just love to get a bit of insight into our guests and just some of their motivation and inspiration for wanting to be in this market. Really. Talking to markets, let's get on to some of the sort of stories there. Obviously, over the weekend, we saw the Iranians provide their response to a ceasefire and peace deal that was put forward by the US. They've responded in kind, the Iranians, with their suggestions. President Trump on Sunday basically said this was unacceptable to them. It's left us in a state of limbo again, really, which is where we've sort of been now since the ceasefire was announced about, I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago, a bit longer now. What are you seeing from, again, this crypto space perspective that's headlines that are moving the markets around? Is that a major factor at the moment, the Iranian situation, the Iran war? Is it still a major factor and an influence on the markets that you trade?
Used to be much more of a major factor a month ago, maybe 2 months ago to be precise. I feel like people got more and more desensitized to this, and by people I mean traders, right? So yeah, earlier it used to be a lot of volatility, ups and downs with every ceasefire or break of ceasefire. But now I think things have generally been calmer, and it's the same for stocks. I think there's not much crypto nuance here in between those two assets. And we saw yesterday all these developments you just covered didn't really move stocks an awful lot. So this story has hopefully we can put it behind us in practice too, right? But yeah, we've put it in practice in terms of behind us in terms of trading. I would say so.
But I mean, in terms of if they do come out with some sort of ceasefire, you would expect a reaction of sorts on the back of that, really, just as you would do if there were to be a resumption of full-blown violence in the area, I guess. But it's just as it stands right now, like you say, it's just it's treading water and it's sitting on the back fence effectively until we get something new. So
yeah, well, you can still see a big move, right, from a final resolution or a big escalation, like you said. But if you remember, a few weeks ago, you had 4 headlines a day, and all the I don't want to say minor, but all the medium impact developments used to drive the markets 1-2% up and down. Well, we're not doing this anymore. But yeah, you're right on the rest.
Okay, cool. Talking of some of the, I mean, last week we had micro earnings of a market mover at the time. For anyone unaware of that, MicroStrategy or Strategy reported a loss of some $12.4 billion in Q1 of this year. And that was driven by a $14.46 billion unrealized markdown on its Bitcoin holdings. Bitcoin at the time fell from around about 87,000 to 68,000, triggering the loss. It fell from 87,000 over the quarter to 68,000 roughly, which triggered the loss. The company said it now holds some 18,300 odd Bitcoins at an average cost of $75,500 roughly, which puts its current worth around $66.82 billion. Staggering numbers here. Preferred stock, the STRC, has raised 5.58 billion year to date and is being positioned as a core funding tool. You got MSCR stock hits, I think, $190 last Tuesday, its highest level since November, and is up roughly, or was as of last week, up around about 20% year to date. We'll go into just to explain what STRC is, by the way, and that stands for Variable Rate Series, a perpetual stretch preferred stock. It's a variable rate series, and I'm reading this off scripts, by the way. Series A perpetual stretch preferred stock. Some of the key points of it is it's a NASDAQ listed preferred equity security. It's issued by Strategy and designed to raise capital to buy more Bitcoin. It's often used or discussed in crypto circles because of how it funds its Bitcoin accumulation. So, yeah, Audie, trying to help us understand the ramifications of what we saw last week from MicroStrategy numbers, or when they reported their numbers, and what it means as a trader. How do you, what does it trigger, and what were you? How did you react to the earnings and the subsequent TRC statement that we saw as well?
I believe the majority of the market saw most of this coming. The miss and the negative numbers you mentioned that are quite staggering. Obviously now their business and their stock is very, very much correlated to BTC. This STRC is their latest development, which you explained very well. For a little bit of background, it exists for quite some time now, like a little less than a year, but it wasn't so popular until he raised the dividend rate. It started from 9% and now it's 11.5. And basically it came into play because he couldn't raise more money by selling equity, selling the stock. So now he's racking up debt to fund new buys. It's pretty clear he won't stop until he pretty much has no choice. And we see that this window is constantly...
Sorry, he by being Michael Saylor. So he, Michael Saylor, who leads the company.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is now like he has come into a bit of a predicament because if you saw, there was this headline 2-3 days ago that he wants to maybe sell some Bitcoin to how did he wanted to prepare the market for the scenario he starts selling Bitcoin, something like this. I don't remember his exact words. Truth is, this has happened in the past. Like, it's not the first time he's selling Bitcoin, right? This has happened twice. But it goes to show that basically a lot of the debt he took through convertibles and now through these preferred stocks is gonna start knocking on the door in 2027, 2028. He paid off some of the earlier ones, earlier expiries, but he has amassed a few billions in debt, and he's pretty much forced. Like, are you aware of Tom Lee and Sarpling and sorry, Bitmine?
Bitmine, yes, but you can please explain a little bit more if you can.
It's what Tom Lee tried to do basically MSTR for Ethereum, but obviously he doesn't have the cushion that Saylor has. So he pretty much, he's already announcing that he's gonna stop buying more ETH, and now he's just gonna be, I don't know, some vehicle that I guess you can access ETH through the stock market. And I feel like MSTR is going to be the same sooner than later.
Okay, interesting. So something to watch out for down the line there. I mean, Saylor did say before he was like he's never a net seller of Bitcoin. I think that was something he said before, because that was obviously one of the fears that he changed his position ultimately. But that's not the case. This is just, you know, whenever it necessitates a move, he will do what's best for the company, and what's best for shareholders, I guess, is what he meant to say by that. Would you agree with that? So it's not something that he's not ultimately as a seller, but he'd rather hold Bitcoin and continue to hold Bitcoin and help support its evolution. But he does what he does.
That's what he. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what he has to do, but Sailor just has so much cushion compared to other DATs, digital asset treasuries, and that's why he's been able to move the way he did. But what I want to say is that maybe this freedom is gonna be thinner and thinner. Like we see, for example, from smaller names, like much smaller DATs, they are already forced to unwind holdings to pay their staff and basically pay operations OPEX.
Okay.
So yeah, Bitmine probably at some point will go there too, which is the second largest, and MSTR pretty much the same. Well, they have many years runaway, but when you're borrowing at 11 and 12% a year to buy Bitcoin or whichever asset you're buying, right, you are expecting some annualized growth. And if it doesn't happen, well, so. it's a big discussion on whether this is sustainable or not, and what happens. Like many have talked about this doomsday scenario where Bitcoin drops a lot and MSTR starts selling, and then, you know, if MSTR starts selling, who is going to absorb? There's nobody to absorb. So that's not very realistic, but it's a it's not very realistic, and it's definitely a tale. But like I said, as his debt matures into 2030, let's say, well, this discussion will be more and more relevant.
Okay. We also saw earnings, I think, from Circle, and they had, I think, some from decent numbers. It handles roughly $21 trillion in trades over the quarter and beat profit goals, while also raising some $222 million to build new money tools for artificial intelligence. I mean, it earned 21% per share, which was ahead of the 19 cents that markets had expected for Q1 of this year. And it also launched its agent stack in $22 million and around $3 billion valuation. Would you have paid much attention to Circle, and would it have impacts the markets in any way, shape, or form?
Circle is maybe one of the first stocks we got that's a bit of a different proxy than Coinbase. Obviously, heavily tied to USDC and their developments. They just raised money from BlackRock and Apollo for their own blockchain, their own token called ARK. There's also Clarity Bill being revisited at end of this week. So there are a few developments that are crypto specific that are expressed through Circle. Even negative ones, like earlier in March, somewhere in March, maybe a bit later, Circle found itself entangled in this Drift protocol hack. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yes, I think we did. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't the Aave hack. It was another big hack that preceded that, where 200-300 million was lost, hacked, and Circle saw like a big drawdown due to the fact there were two reasons. One of them was that they did not freeze the stolen USDC,
Right.
somehow making them complicit to North Korean hackers, but they also Tether basically stepped in to save this protocol, bail them out, and that was seen like Tether doing an aggressive move to capture Solana market share from Circle, because Circle is USDC, their stablecoin is less popular than USDT Tethers, but they're more popular in Solana. Right. So Tether saw this vector through this hack and tried to get the market share, and Circle reacted. This is maybe a bit too nitty-gritty, but it's interesting, especially for the people who trade these stocks, because there are so many developments that I feel like they're crypto native, but they get expressed through the stock too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's true. I think they handle some percent of all stablecoin trades across the globe. And apparently it's also expanding its managed payment service, which helps banks start using digital cash. So again, those crossovers are there, like as you said, and it goes into, I don't want to say the real world, but maybe the traditional sort of marketplace as well. So the significance is there, and like you say, there's a crossover, I guess. Just you pointed out Aave. Now I know it happened a month ago. It's almost old news now, but I wanted to talk about the security and the issues around that. So back in April of this year, so last month, a major DeFi security incident occurred where Kelp DAO was exploited for nearly 300 million as well. These are massive numbers, and it caused a huge liquidity crisis and some $71 million in frozen funds on the Aave lending protocol. Just to give a bit of background, the hackers then targeted the Kelp DAO bridge. Is it DAO or DAO bridge, allowing them to mint or steal roughly 116,500 restaking tokens, Ether restaking tokens, which represents about 18% of its supply. Do you worry about these incidences becoming more common, or these are just anomalies and these things will happen in an industry this large and this deep?
No, everybody's definitely worried about the proliferation of hacks recently, which are AI enabled, basically. Like, I think it's commonplace to agree that AI has been accelerating the hacks due to just how much of a bigger scope and how many more code bases the hackers and malicious groups can go through in a set amount of time. So they keep discovering this kind of exploits. Like we've seen, I think we are on track the last month of 1.0 hacks a day, 1.1.
Wow.
So technically more than one hack a day. It's small protocols, so the amounts are much less than the amounts you mentioned now, but here and there you're going to have these big protocols. And the reason this Aave incident was so important was because Aave was seen as the most secure protocol. That's why it was the biggest by a big margin, which is no longer the case. And everybody pretty much said, there were hacks, there were all kinds of incidents, and there was this motto of just use Aave as the safest. And now that got invalidated, so the whole space, the whole DeFi sector basically shook up.
Okay. Others, doesn't it, really, in the space? And you don't want it as concentrated maybe as it is. You do want competition in the marketplace, I guess, just for security reasons as well as.
Yeah, that's a good point. Up to an extent, because there are, limitations. Like obviously, maybe it's better to have some economies of scale there, just because a security budget that's big enough, it's more important than having 10 small security budgets. But yeah, it does offer opportunities. We saw a big redistribution of the amount invested and performance in DeFi after this incident. There were a lot of headlines to trade when the news broke out. So yeah, from the trading perspective is good, but from the industry perspective of DeFi, it was definitely a step back, and things slowed down, and now many of these protocols have to reinvent themselves with a security focus, let's say.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, we're coming to the end of the episode here. Anything we should be looking out for in the near future? Any events that you think are worthy of just mentioning over maybe the next 2-3 weeks or a month? That those new crypto or those in the crypto space should be aware of.
It's a little further out than the timeline you just gave. Sure. But I would say it will
so our next episode is what I meant. So that was me thinking next episode. But yeah, whenever. You tell us What do you think we should be?
Yeah. No, I would say the midterms for sure. I feel like they will become relevant in terms of getting priced in 3 months earlier than they actually are. So
Right.
somewhere at middle end of the summer. There's a lot to unpack here. I can go in detail if you want, but
Well, maybe just from a heads down view. I mean, we know that the Trump administration is a pro crypto administration, and there are lots of from the SEC to different organizations, governmental organizations are pro cryptocurrencies at the moment. But the impact that you see from these midterms, if we see the House and the Senate turned over to the Democrats, for example, is that what the main focus for you is who runs the government?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a threefold view, I would say. First of all, if they lose the House, you're going to have a lot of investigations, but mainly into Trump, that will be used by the Dems to get political leverage. So worried for crypto, especially for projects affiliated with Trump, like his coin, like World Liberty Fi, and a few adjacent ones like Dolomite. And then if they lose the Senate, it could be much worse for the entire industry, because they will probably reorganize the SEC and the CFTC and whatnot, right? That gives them that power. So in that case, I think we will see a more broad clawback on the space. But in either of those two scenarios, the projects and the tokens that are directly affiliated with Trump are probably not going to be unaffected by this. So the Senate is the much bigger impact and thing to watch for. And I think it will. I can see a future where Bitcoin and the rest of the altcoins trade around the probability of the Republicans losing the Senate.
Right.
Almost like a prediction market, but yeah, we'll see.
It's not going to prediction markets just yet. That's a whole nother episode on its own, but an interesting one nonetheless. Listen, Audie, I'd like to thank you for participating in today's chat. We want to make this a regular thing. I say a monthly affair, and get you back on again. Hopefully, with other guests as well, we can bring in to sort of just pick their brains on the current affairs within the space. But I'd like to thank you. We'll also, if people want to follow you on Discord or X, are they able to do so?
Yeah, they should follow our firm's page, Credo. Credo, I think it's Credo does
We can put the details up. Yeah.
Okay, that's better. Yeah. And there you will find whatever it is that you may seek in terms of our content, the strategies we run, etc.
Okay, we'll put these details up there as well for anyone who wants to find you and look a bit more into your philosophy around trading these markets. But listen, thank you very much again. We'll love to get you back on next month, as I said, and have a fresh rundown of what's occurring in the space. I found it extremely interesting. I do think trying to find that common ground where someone such as yourself can interpret what's going on in the crypto space and make it relevant for those in the TradFi space is a useful tool. So long may we bring that to our audience. But thanks again, and anyone listening, if you want to listen back to the start of this, go back onto the podcast platforms, Apple iTunes, Spotify, whatever, or onto the X or other Facebook social media platforms as well, and seek us out there. But thank you to Audie, thank you to everyone for listening, and we'll see you again next month. LiveSquawk keeps serious market participants ahead of the news around the clock. Start your free trial at livesquawk.com.
Thanks for tuning into the LiveSquawk podcast. Your edge in the market starts here. Subscribe now.